welcome everyone. It is Wednesday. Normally we do this on a Thursday, but it's Wednesday, I think the 3rd, 4th of September, something like that. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you happen to be watching this or catching the recording of it. We have a fantastic App Builder Live show for you today. We're going to be talking about some new features that were released recently for App Builder for developer convenience and developer productivity. So we'll talk about those. And then I just have a couple of things that I wanted to announce at the beginning. One of them is around the trial program. So we've had a trial program for App Builder for a number of years. And we have recently transitioned that trial program over to the AEM headless trial. So if you go to the App Builder homepage, all the links will point to instructions on how to get access to that. And that allows you to see the full functionality of AEM with App Builder. So you can do things like UI extensibility and essentially anything that you would want to do with those two products. So that's super exciting. Hopefully customers get a great deal of value out of that. And maybe in a future show, I'll walk through what that process looks like and how to get started. And the other thing is, so this show is on state service. It's been a while since we've done shows, been a little kind of erratic over the summer here. But we have in 2 weeks on Thursday, 2 weeks from tomorrow, we have a show on commerce. We're going to be doing they have a new toolkit, a new kind of getting started bootstrapping kit for essentially taking commerce, using App Builder, and getting access to back office systems in a very quick way, so that it's kind of a repeated pattern that you can use for connecting those systems up. So that'll be in 2 weeks. Look forward to information about that. And yeah, let's kick it off. So let me bring in the team. Hey, Patrick, how you doing, man?
Hey, Ron, good morning. How are you?
I am well. How are you doing, Moritz?
Hi, I'm doing good, thanks.
And let's bring Jesse. Hey, Jesse, welcome back.
All good. How you doing?
Good, thanks. So Moritz, you moved recently. That's your place right behind you. That's just kind of a...
Yeah, exactly. I'm living in the mountains now, like ready to go to sleep after this call. So yeah.
Excellent.
My new home.
The Swiss Alps.
The Swiss mountains, exactly. In the Alpensel. Very beautiful hike, actually.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. So let's kick it off, Patrick, with you. So you guys have been busy. You've had a very busy summer, very productive. Talk a little bit about, we just had the show earlier in the summer on App Builder Turns 10.0, talking about, the new version of the CLI, but you guys didn't stop there. And talk a little bit about what's been going on.
Yeah, like I said, we have been busy. I think we're at, Jesse, keep me honest, we're at 10.2, I believe, as our latest release. We released the dev command back in June, which Jesse will give a little update about. We previewed it on the last call. We're enabling local debug extremely fast, right? This is a way to just really launch something, debug it, get the output you need as quick as possible. It also works, standalone or in VS Code. It fixes a critical bug with Apple Silicon Macs that weren't loading our previous, debug utility. So really great update that Jesse's going to have there. And then he's also got some changes to preview, that I won't steal his thunder. I'll let him go ahead and take care of that. But we also released a new version of our state, right, that Moritz is going to talk about in demo today. It has some really cool CLI functionality and some fair usage limits for everyone to kind of know about. Really, I think on the horizon, and this is totally unofficial, I think Monik, our product manager, would kill me, but we've got some observability improvements coming up. being able to see like maybe what's been deployed to CDN, any updates or deletes to actions really help troubleshoot in console. And then, even being able to see your app builder utilization, right? Like this has been on something people have been asking for a long time to know, hey, I've got these licenses. I'd like to see, what our usage looks like. And yeah, I think like we've got some good updates today, and Jesse and Moritz are going to do a great job showing demos.
Yeah, right on. So yeah, I guess the net result is that developer productivity is just going to keep getting better with the the updates that you guys are doing to the product, which is fantastic.
Yeah, totally.
All right, Moritz. So do you want to just jump in and talk to us about
sure.
the new state library, state service?
Yeah, sure. Let me do that.
Okay.
Okay. Are you sharing my screen?
Yep. So your screen is live, so you're all set.
Awesome. So yeah, basically the new state library requires no setup. You just need to install it, and in your application folder, you could also install it through the IO SDK, which, as you may know, is our wrapping package for all the IO libraries. And just make sure that the IO-lib state is above version 4 and IO SDK above version 6. And then, as of yesterday, we announced also a new CLI plugin to manage your key values. You just need to update the CLI to version 10.2, and then you can run the IO app state commands directly from your application folder as well. And just make sure that you're using it with the new libraries and not the legacy state, because with legacy state, it's just not going to work. So yeah, also we've updated the documentation, so make sure to check that one out. It is in the in the app builder guides under application state, and there is a section specifically for state storage.
Okay, so real quick, I'm going to interrupt real quick. So the state service, and you'll probably cover this, but just to be clear at the beginning, so the state service is I guess you could call it a breaking change of sorts. I mean, it's not really a breaking change because it's essentially a new capability that in order to take advantage of, you need to build using this new state library. It's not, you have to migrate. Yeah.
I mean, it's still a breaking change in the sense that we have legacy state that stores keys in an older system, and we have this new state version which will store your key values in our new state service. So if you're just starting out fresh, you don't need to worry about anything. You just install the new library. But if you're using legacy state, you will have to migrate at some point, and we will provide more information about that later on, and also provide a tool to help you migrate. For now, we don't have this ready yet, but it would come soon.
Okay, that's cool. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, before I jump into the demo or like go into new features or things like that, I just wanted to show you why we're going into a new system actually. So with legacy state or like the older versions of state, basically the architecture was relying on the token vending machine service. This is basically the same service that we are also using for files and CDN. And it's a service that is going to take your runtime credential and exchange them, in this case for state, for Cosmos DB credentials. And then it will provide you a direct access to an isolated share of our shared Cosmos DB instance. And that way you can make direct accesses to get, put, delete your keys. I mean, for us, this was like a super easy way to provide state, files, and CDN from the start. And like this has been around for many years already, and we could provide out-of-the-box storage to our users. But there are a couple of drawbacks with that approach, especially for state, because Cosmos DB is like kind of an expensive beast. So basically, one of the biggest challenges that we have is that the APIs on the client. This means that if we do any major changes to the infrastructure, or if we want to do any major change in the API itself, like this would require users to update their code, and this is virtually not feasible. We cannot ask all the customers to update all their action, all their applications, just for us to roll out a new infrastructure piece, right? And because there is like a direct access from the library to the infrastructure, we cannot expose a public endpoint or a public interface, which means that it's very hard for us to also implement like a management utility, like a CLI that we just talked about, or maybe in the future, a state management UI. And also because of this direct access, it also makes it very hard for us to like control in real time and rate limit users in real time. And this has led in the past to like cost variance, which is cost was going all over the place for us. And this also means that because we couldn't control the costs so well, it was hard for us to also provide things like GDPR compliance by adding a Europe region, because that would mean like multiplying the variance, right, of the cost. And basically those are like the main points why we wanted to switch. Like another small factor is also like we have there is a performance cold start with the TVM where you need to exchange the credentials. And because state is latency critical, like you want to put and get keys like the fastest way possible, that this is a little drawback as well for those cold starts. So basically the new architecture looks like this, and it's like an evolution of the previous one where we want to lift the API from the client to an actual service that we own. And in that service, we would then have a full control of what's getting in, what's getting out. We can control rate limit users. We can control costs better. We are able to change the storage infrastructure, and we are also hiding that storage infrastructure to the client. And this allows us from the start to already expose like directly a new region. We have the America region, but now we also have a EMEA region in Europe. This is good for GDPR compliance, and we're soon gonna come up with a APAC region as well to reduce latency for all those Asia customers. And and because we're controlling the service, we can also expose a public endpoint, and so now we also have the CLI that you can use to directly access through state.
This is great.
Yeah. And yeah, so new features directly coming out as well. So as I just talked about, you can select the region just on initialization, put in the region. EMEA by default is America, and each region stores the data independently. So if you store something in America, it's not going to be visible in EMEA. But maybe in the future, we could also provide some sort of global replication, depending on what user wants. But for now, everything is separated.
So to clarify on that, so the keys that you have in the Americas are not visible to something, or do you have to replicate the keys across the regions if you want to use them in different places for latency reasons? Or
basically it's like you're gonna initialize the library in your code, select the region, and then store the keys in that region. And if you want to store them in the two regions, you just initialize two different instances, one in EMEA, one in America, and then you can store in the two regions, right?
Okay, great.
And then we also provided least key support with a matching pattern. So this has been a long-awaited feature. We were thinking already in the past to do it in the Cosmos DB implementation, but it was in Cosmos DB, listing and querying data was costing a lot of request unit, so it was hard to find exactly the right solution for that. And here we can just easily implement it, expose it to you. And yeah, I think it's a great addition. It unlocks a lot of use cases. And directly with that, we're also moving the same principle of filtering and matching to the delete feature, so that then you can delete all the keys matching a pattern. And the two together kind of give you a way to organize your data within one state instance, so within your application. For example, you could store some data with a prefix, store some other data with a prefix, and then manipulate, list all the data for one kind of a prefix, and then delete it all without impacting the rest of the data. And so this is a kind of a way to step into the direction to be able to sub-organize your data within one application.
So these new features, which are fantastic, essentially developers will have to think a little bit differently when they're building out these solutions using the new library in terms of how they're creating their key structure, because of what you just mentioned, the ability to delete prefixed keys. You might, and I think you've got an example of that. Yeah,
exactly. Actually, in the demo I'm just gonna show now, you're gonna see it working. Let me jump to it right now.
Not that I knew that was coming or anything, but
yeah. So yeah, this is just a sample application, basically just mimicking exactly what state is. So instead of me like showing you how I'm hitting the API, I thought I could do something a bit more visual. So this is it. It's just like a bunch of memos. Every memo is a value, and the key is basically a memo prefix, just the string memo, with then the actual timestamp, and then everything is ordered by date, basically creation date.
Okay, so
and
sorry, just quickly. So when you say everything, so all of the strings that we're seeing, I'm just trying to get into kind of the data structure of what's built.
Sure.
All of the strings are stored inside of the state library, or are they linked to something in the file library?
No, everything is stored in state right now.
Okay.
Those are all state values, and the key is just basically just a timestamp with some prefix, so that we can then order them by creation date. But
Awesome.
This is just one example of how you could implement this, right? But you could do it in so many different ways. It's flexible. You don't have to follow this exact pattern, of course. And so basically this shows also the list feature right from the start, right? Because without list, something like this would not be possible, because we need to list everything that is in the application, everything that is stored in state for that application. And and so when we refresh the application, is doing this list call, and then for every key, it's getting the value, and then it's returning it to the UI, and the UI is rendering it. And then we can, if we want to, we can create also another key value. Let me see if I. Oh, perfect.
Does Jesse have a question or a comment?
For you,
Yeah.
Are your keys like shopping list and meeting notes, or are your keys the individual items?
So my keys are just a timestamp, basically, and the value is everything.
Okay, are you going to show code?
Yeah, I'm going to show it just after.
Okay, I'll wait.
Yeah.
Jesse will hold his question until we get the code section.
And yeah, so I can just create a key, and this is going to make a call to put, obviously. And then I could also just delete one, and this is going to make a call to delete. Then just to showcase the region feature, basically everything you see here is in the America region in the US. So if I click on this, we're switching into EMEA. And as you can see, like the data is completely different, right? Separation of data. Also, just for the sake of showing you all the features that state support, I've implemented this white button, which is going to make a call to delete all and delete all the keys just in that region. If I go back here, obviously, they're still there. So now, Jesse, I'm going to show you the code. So I'm not going to show you the UI code. It's not that interesting, but basically we just have like 3 actions in the backend. We have a delete action, an update, and the get all. Get all is what happens when we refresh the application. And so looking in get all, it takes the region parameter that we set on init. And then we're doing the list. So state.list here, it's interesting to note that it's returning an ASIC iterator. So we are like just iterating over all the keys that state.list returns. Then we accumulate them in that array. And then once we have all the keys, we can just map to them, and for each key, basically get the value. And as you can see, when I do the list, I listing with a prefix. The prefix is just a string, and then I'm adding the star to make sure to get all that data that is contained to the purpose of memos. So that if I want to, in the application, I could also store all the state for other things. And yeah, and then I'm removing the memo prefix, and I'm returning to the UI a sorted list with the key being the timestamp, and then the content being the value. And yeah, similarly, just for completeness, I show you really quickly update as well. And on update, I'm basically just receiving the content and the region again, of course, creating the ID with date.now. I choose to store it for 30 days. And then I'm constructing the key as this prefix with a dot, and then I'm adding the ID, which is just the timestamp, and storing the content, obviously. So now what I can do is show you in the terminal, like let's say you're a developer and you just like put this application, but you want to understand a little bit more what's going on with the state that is stored right now. So you can, for that, just use the IOApp state CLI. There is the stats command, which maybe let me just show you all the command first. So delete, get list put, this you know, and then stats is a new one as well. It's just returning some information about what is stored. So in this case, in the America region, which is the default, so we have 10 keys. It also gives me some information about the bytes that are stored. I could also do region and then specify EMEA. And here, because I've wiped everything out in EMEA, we see 0. I can then list the keys. And because I'm a bit nerdy, I can then pipe it into some sort command and sort them so that I get the newest key first, which we just created, right? So I can do the get, put this here, and here we can see the content that we just created before. Every command also supports JSON, which is nice because then I can pipe it into GQ. And if I want to be very nerdy, I can do just all the steps at once, just piping everything together. Let me find it. And so this is listing, sorting in reverse, getting the first element, and then getting the value for it.
Super powerful. Love it.
Yeah. And what can I show you? Yeah. I can also put some values. So let me set the region to EMEA. I can do this. So I can override the default region by setting this environment value. And then I can search for this command, which is basically putting 5 new memos with the content of just saying memo and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I run this.
So it's creating those keys based on the command that you just wrote.
Exactly. I'm creating a key called like this, which is like memo plus the timestamp. And then I get some extra information, and I'm putting this as a value. So now if I go back to the Europe region, I refresh, I can see all those keys being created. So
That's
this is a
great.
good way also. Yeah, it's nice to have the CLI help you, assisting you in building the application, right? Because it gives you direct access to your data. So yeah, this is basically the demo I wanted to show. I still have a few more slides.
Yeah, you might get to this. So it's an interesting example. It certainly illustrates, the concepts inside of keys and the multi-region and whatnot. So I appreciate you doing that. Can you go into some of the other examples of where you would use keys and like differentiate those with where you would use files? Because I always get like a little bit not mixed up, but like architecturally, when you're thinking about building your application, typically what would you use keys for, and what are you using the file system for?
Yeah. So we have a little section for that in the documentation to guide you.
Yep.
So basically, as a rule of thumb, is like if you expect your data to grow larger than 100 kilobytes, then you should go with files. Otherwise, you should use state. So basically, files is good for large payloads, bandwidth oriented, and state is good for fast access. So small key values that you want to access fast, you use state. If you want big data, you go with files. Also in state, this is something I didn't say yet, but we have a limit of 1 year. So like there is a TTL on every key value that you store. The maximum is 1 year. So if you need your data to be persisted forever, you also should choose files.
Okay, that's
and
cool.
Yeah, and more so also like if you want your data to be shared, like using pre-signed URLs, then you would also choose files for that. So yeah, basically state is more as a fast cache / fast storage, and files is really this big long-term storage.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that. I'll let you get back into your slides.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, actually I just had one, but it's talking about those limitations which I just mentioned. So those are kind of new limitations. They're a bit more restrictive than in legacy state, but we're also interested to know what you think about, and maybe we could adjust some of those. But basically, we need every namespace to follow a specific format, and this means that namespaces now need to be created in the developer console. So if you have a project created in the developer console and you're building an application with that, you don't need to worry about this. It's just if you're using one of those old legacy runtime namespaces which don't have the format, then you could talk to us and maybe we could find a way to map this namespace to your organization in the new state service. As I said, the max time to live is 1 year. There is also a key size limit of 1 kilobyte. I think this is the same as with legacy state. The value size, we reduced it a bit from 2 megabytes to 1 megabytes to make sure that for those bigger values, you're actually using files, because this is what you should do in this case. Yeah. We also have like allowed key characters which are reduced. We discussed this, but we wanted to start minimalistic on this to make sure that we can in the future support an infrastructure change, and I think those characters should be enough for keys. And then we also have rate limits and monthly limits that apply. Those are subject to change, but they're also all documented in the documentation.
So
and as I said, well,
I was going to say, talk a little bit about rate limiting and monthly limits. Yeah.
Okay, so let me bring that up.
And it's super handy that you guys have your documentation up there already. So
yeah, it's all there. So it's ready to be read. So for now, basically, one app builder pack is providing you with 200 gigabyte bandwidth per month. And this is more or less 5 megabytes per minute constant usage. And you also get like 1 gigabyte storage, which is calculated as 2 times the key size plus the value sizes. This is something that may change, though. I mean, we're still in the early phases. We're also happy to hear about feedback and see we can adjust this. And then we have a rate limiting that is per container, so not per organization, per container within one region. And this is basically 10 megabytes per minute with a 1 megabyte per second peak. And we can adapt this also based on usage. This is basically the default rate limiting that we put in place.
Okay, and then customers can certainly, if they hit up against these limits, they can request something from us, and
of course,
all right,
that's it that I wanted to show basically. I think the most important is like, because we're seeing the early phases, because I really wanted to emphasize that now that we have the state service, we can basically create whatever feature we want. So just let us know what you think, let us know what you want, and then we could maybe implement it, find a way to provide all those features. We're not stuck anymore. Like the older solution was something that was fixed. It was very hard to add things, and now it's easy. So just let us know.
Yeah, that's great. And I know that a number of internal developers, internal folks have participated in providing feedback as well on building what the new state service. So definitely, if there's customers out there, partners who, once they kick the tires on this new state service, are like, hey, it'd be really great if it had something. Let us know, and we'll work towards getting some updates out there.
Yeah, this is basically what happened with the delete all feature. Like it was a request, and we directly responded to that. So
yeah, that's great.
It's possible.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, so thank you so much, Moritz, for sharing that. I'm going to take the screen off. So we're back. You're welcome to take control of your screen and put it back to viewing us or whatnot. But let's Jesse, you want to jump in and talk a little bit? We talked about the dev command and debugging. Definitely kind of went deep on that in the last session. Is there anything that you want to add? Any synergies?
Yeah, I just wanted to list a few things that have changed since we last talked. So mainly we went to 1.0, so we released in June, and response has been great. Everyone is liking the workflow, so that's awesome to hear, and we look forward to hearing more back as well. As soon as everyone discovers how it all works. We've added support for sequences. They work more correctly now. There were some little loose ends that we hadn't tied up last time we talked. Also, web raw was not working, and now is. And there's other little nuances like that where we're just trying to be as close to runtime as possible. We had an issue where if there was an error in your, like a syntax error in your action code, it was requiring you to actually reload the app. But we've addressed that, so no need to restart. You can just fix the error in place and continue on, like call it again.
And it'll work essentially, right?
We recover. And also environment variables are passed to the actions correctly now too. That wasn't there when we spoke last. So things are very consistent with what you see when you actually run your action in runtime. But you have a much tighter loop where you can actually step through and see what's going on.
Right on. So you've gotten closer to kind of the local debugging process that you had before this, and so more feature parity, if you will. Yep,
exactly.
That's great.
Yeah. So also there is a potential issue for anyone who did install the pre-release version of the plugin, because of the way that user plugins always override core plugins.
Yeah.
They have to actually uninstall the pre-release, so then they can see the core plugin showing up. So yeah, the dev command is now a core plugin. So installing the CLI, you will get it by default.
Okay, and so say that again. So if somebody installed the pre-release plugin, they have to uninstall that plugin and then do a refresh. So that it's always picking up the.
They might not even need to refresh. The way it works is the core plugin is always installed there, but if you have a user plugin with the same ID, it hides the core plugin.
Oh, right on. Okay, good. Cool. Anything else that folks should be aware of?
Yeah, I wanted to just share a little bit about what's coming. What we're working on. Let me just share my screen.
Okay. I imagine there's a lot of real estate over there.
What, my super wide monitor here?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I have to split my monitor into 2 monitors.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's ridiculous in the share.
Am I good to share?
Yeah.
Okay.
You should see my terminal. Yeah, my messy screen. So this won't be, anywhere nearly as professionally prepared as what Moritz showed you. I'm just gonna show you a bit. So one thing that we've had an issue with is we sort of didn't expect that when people started making their apps that they would want 50 separate actions inside their applications. And this revealed an issue where when you do a app deploy or app build or app run, we actually go and build all of those actions, even if they haven't changed. So this means that some users were experiencing wait times of 2 or 3 minutes before their application actually launched, which made it really hard to work. We've always had commands in there that would let you drill down. So if you wanted to deploy, if you changed a single action and you wanted to deploy just that action, we've always had flags that you could use to do that. But it sort of seems like that was more of a advanced user feature, and it wasn't necessarily known to everyone. So some users were like banging their head going, well, every time I deploy, I have to wait and then come back. So what we've done, and I've just run here, I've got a sample application on my machine, and I've just run it, and it has 32 different actions in it, and it took 1 minute, 10 seconds, or basically 11 seconds. And I've done this with, I'll show you the project a little bit here first. I'm actually there's only really 3 actions in here, or 4 actions in here. I've just gone into the config YAML and I've added a whole bunch of actions, and they're all pointing to action one. Most of them are action one, right? So these do appear as individual actions, and they need to be packaged and deployed individually, because any of these variables here could change. So they are like this could be the same action, but one is deployed for node 18 and the other is node 20. So there is lots of variance that you can add in config YAML. So one other thing I'll show you real quick. You'll see a lot more logging when I run all this stuff. Some of it is just to help me to make sure that what I expect to happen is happening, and it will disappear once we actually go live with this feature. And some of it is actually done through hooks. So I've got a bunch of hooks for every event that happens in the life cycle of the application being deployed. So we can see when each event actually happened. You'll see a lot of this flying by as I deploy. So the way I ran last time, I was using force build, which was the default behavior, but we're going to be changing that to not be default, and the default will be this.
And so so you're not going to have to do force build, which is not going to actually build all of those 32 actions. Yeah.
Force build will no longer be the default behavior.
Yeah. Right.
So if you do need to force build, you'll need to use the flag.
Okay, right. So if you wanted to rebuild all of those 32 actions and wait the whatever time it takes, you can do that, but the default is not to do that. Does it do just the diffs, like the differentials of any actions that have changes?
It will build just actions that have changes, unless you use the no public or no build.
The no build. Okay, gotcha.
Right. So I can just show you quickly, and it'll probably make more sense. So if I did that deploy in 6 seconds this time, and that's because nothing changed in between. If I run it again, I'll get roughly the same time. Right. It's all very quick. I'm not publishing, and I'm not dealing with web assets. I'm strictly looking at actions here, just so we can have a good comparison. So 4.5 seconds to run that. Now, if I go into, say, action 3 here, and I change anything at all, like even just adding a space, we will see, if I run it again, it detects that action was changed, and it will deploy it. So similarly, cool. if you noticed in this extension here, most of these are pointing actually at action 1. So if I change something in this file, we should see a bunch that need to be updated, because everyone that's actually using that source code needs to be updated. Oh, for some reason I didn't catch that. Action 1. I'll see what. Nice. Okay, run one more time. Yeah, so it's detecting that generic 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Is it recursively going over each one looking for a change, and then
it's comparing a hash? So every time we build, we make a hash, and so before we build again, we check that hash to see if it's changed. Now this is going to take a little bit, so I will.
Yes, exactly. Control C.
Out of there. Also, because an action is not just the source code, it's also the values that you place in here. Let me just I'm going to have to deploy the rest of those. We're almost there. So in order for me to show you this, I need to modify just the manifest so we can see that the values are passed through. Oh, and because I exited quick, it didn't actually save the hashes, so we got to do the whole thing again.
Oh, good.
My bad.
We'll let it go. It's all good.
So if I come in here and I wanted to change, we'll go to generic 3 because it doesn't have a million different actions depending on it. If I wanted to change the log level, okay, we're almost there, 27. Dead error. Okay, it's still got to deploy.
Everyone's holding their collective breath.
Yeah. Okay, so over here I can change any value. So in log level, let's see what it suggests. It wants debug. I'll go. Is that how you spell cray cray, or is it just
CRA? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, are we done yet? Come on, 27, 28. Okay, that's done. So saving this, now we should see that there is one action that is changed, but it doesn't actually need to be rebuilt. It just needs to be deployed. So if we run it again, we'll see that it built really quickly, or it went through the list, and then it actually deployed it. And similarly, if I change an environment variable, like I've got a couple here, this appears 3 times in here, right? So if I go into env, so you can see it needs to deploy any of the ones that were dependent on that. So that's the feature in a nutshell. We're close to actually releasing this so everyone can have this speed up.
Okay, so this is not yet released.
Not yet. We're still testing. There's a few edge cases that we got to be careful of. This is also going to work with the dev command. We're just going through and making sure that everything works flawlessly across the board.
Okay, so coming soon.
Yep.
Developers will have a
I think I said that at the start.
Yeah.
Roadmap. I will stop sharing.
All right. That's great. So thank you for showing the yeah, so we're thinking the next month, the next 6 months. What do we nail down, like
we're close.
Okay.
Yeah. Very close.
Okay, good. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your expertise, your wisdom, and yeah, all of the cool stuff, Moritz. And
thanks for waiting for that full deploy.
What's that?
Thanks for waiting through that full deploy.
It's good. It was an illustrative, purposeful example. So very nice.
Yeah. Feel the pain.
All right. Thank you guys for joining me, and thanks everyone. Yeah, so have an awesome day, and Moritz, enjoy your Swiss Alp chalet back there.
Yeah, thanks. I'm going to bed now, actually. And the sun is going down.
All right. We'll see you guys later.
Thanks, Ron.
Bye, guys.
Cheers. Bye-bye.